Well, it looks like John Kerry, John Edwards, and Howard Dean have emerged from the Iowa caucuses in a three-way race. When Bill Clinton heard the news, he said, you know, I remember my first Iowa three-way like it was yesterday. Like many of you, I'm enraged at the media's attempt to steal the nomination from the legitimate opposition candidate, Howard Dean, or Old Crazy Eyes. It's outrageous how disloyal these Democrats are. Celebrities who flocked to Dean, then flocked to Clark, are now having to flock back to John Kerry again. It really shows you how feckless these liberals are, dashing from one candidate to the next. They have no principle, these Democrats. The entire party is exhibiting the symptoms of nervous hysteria. The Democratic establishment's opposition to Howard Dean is puzzling. Among an admittedly motley crew, Dean is manifestly the most charismatic, intelligent, articulate, unbalanced, to be sure. But sharing a stage with Dennis Kucinich can make almost anyone look well-adjusted. Sensing a potential blowout catastrophe for the Democratic Party, liberals seem to be trying to warn us. One got loose. If you spot Howard Dean, take no action yourself. Contact the DNC immediately. But up until a few months ago, the entire Democratic Party was trying to be Howard Dean, espousing this manufactured hysteria about Iraq in the face of orange-capped anarchists smashing Starbucks windows. The entire Democratic Party lost its nerve. Trying to lure Howard Dean's constituency, the cast and crew of MTV's The Real World, some Democrats capitulated immediately. Some responded to the challenge of Howard Dean by manufacturing Wesley Clark, a palpable opportunistic phony. Bill Clinton turned over all of his top advisors and fundraisers to Wesley Clark, including several black hookers in Washington. Indeed, Bill Clinton is so hell-bent on getting Wesley Clark elected, he's decided not to endorse him. Until John Kerry won in Iowa, Wesley Clark was viewed as the only electable Democrat, principally because he's a Republican. Until about 3 months ago, Clark was exuberantly praising the Bush administration, making the case for a preemptive attack on Iraq. For most of his adult life, he's voted Republican. But now he's on board with the whole anti-war, where's Osama, Bush is a miserable failure platform, best articulated by that stunning success story, Dick Gephardt. Effectively locking up the America-hating pacifist vote, Clark has won the endorsements of Michael Moore and Madonna. In fact, Madonna recently spent an entire evening with General Clark discussing her various positions. These endorsements now rank in usefulness with Fidel Castro's endorsement of Jimmy Carter, Willie Horton's endorsement of Michael Dukakis, and Al Gore's endorsement of Howard Dean. The Democrats were so excited about getting an authentic phony patriot, they adopted a don't ask, don't tell policy with regard to Wesley Clark's sanity. Let's see, anti-war, check. Anti-Bush tax cuts, check. Anti-John Ashcroft, check. Squirrels in my backyard are East German spies who tried to kill Lady Diana, what? Recently, Clark came out for abortion for any reason right up until birth, thus sewing up the coveted Jack Kevorkian endorsement. Clark has no stomach for killing Islamic fanatics, but full-term unborn American babies, bring them on. Waxing philosophical, Clark said, "Life begins with the mother's decision," which, interestingly enough, was also the position of convicted child killer Andrea Yates. Openly angling for the Democrats' key constituency of breathtakingly stupid women, the general has taken to dressing like Rob Lowe in a chick flick, proving that, once again, for Democrats, the road to the White House begins at the Gap. During the interminable 14-month rush to war talkfest, Clark claimed the White House was trying to get him thrown off CNN as a commentator. He had no evidence, but he'd heard rumors to this effect. This is absurd. The White House was not trying to get Wesley Clark kicked off CNN. They were trying to get Clay Aiken kicked off American Idol. Later, Clark insisted he had actual evidence that the White House was trying to get him kicked off CNN, but he refused to produce the evidence, saying it would get people in trouble. But if elected, Clark vows he will send in Hans Blix to look for the evidence. Last June, Clark told Tim Russert that immediately after the 9/11 attack, he received calls from the White House or people around the White House telling him to go on TV and say that Saddam Hussein was behind the 9/11 attack. After months of questions, his latest story is that the call came from someone living in a White House. First, Clark retracted his statement that it came from the White House, saying that it was someone calling from a Middle East think tank in Canada. When informed that there are no Middle East think tanks in Canada, Clark said it came from the Begin Sadat Institute in Israel, which has a branch in Montreal. In other words, the White House. At least Clark is getting the hang of being a Democrat. He's already started blaming everything on the Jews. Alas, it's too little too late. The entire rationale of the Clark candidacy vanished with Kerry's win in Iowa. Democrats want a phony patriot, but the other phony patriots already won a primary. The only reason Democrats want to run a war hero for president is to fuel their rage against George Bush. Democrats know they can't beat Bush, but they fully intend to work themselves into a hysteria over Bush throughout the campaign. Prepare for a lot of gloating and taunting about the fact that John Kerry is a Vietnam vet. Just a few years ago, the Democrats thought a pot-smoking draft dodger would make a splendid president. But now they're inflamed at the idea that George Bush didn't fight in Vietnam. Calling Bush a draft dodger, which is false, will now join the Democrats' list of other clever policy arguments, such as, "You're stupid," and Halliburton. I'll conclude in a moment and take your questions for the rest of my time, but let me just quickly say why I think running a war hero is not going to help the Democrats. There is indisputably nothing cooler than having fought for your country, but I don't think it's going to change a single vote. The only people who venerate combat experience are Republicans. Military guys will vote for Bush, and Democrats don't admire bravery. Liberals are so anti-American. It's lost its shock value to even say so to their faces. Democrats think they invented war heroes, but being a war hero didn't help George Herbert Walker Bush. It didn't help Bob Dole. It didn't help John McCain. Democrats didn't invent war heroes. What they invented is running war heroes as a scam to argue for surrender. Thank you. Boy, I have to say, when I speak on college campuses, it doesn't take them that long to get to the mic. Of course, they can never formulate a question, but they're quick to get to the mic.
Hi, Anne. My name's Kira Gorski. I'm from Washington, D.C. I just wanted to ask your advice on something. I know someone that knows Ted Kennedy, and I know I'm going to meet him eventually. And what would you advise I ask him? Should I bring up Chappaquiddick?
Don't get in the car with him. I think you should ask him if when he said Bush's war policy in Iraq was adrift, if he meant, you know, like a car driving off a bridge and floating away.
Hi, I'm Tracy White from Western Carolina University, and I'm intending to pursue a degree in journalism myself, and I was wondering if you're in need of any interns.
I could probably use some. I actually have no assistants, no research assistants, and no one who helps me do anything, so if you're wondering why I have not responded to any of your letters, I do read them all, and they make me very happy, and then I don't respond. I'm very happy you are going into journalism and not going to law school. I would, you didn't ask for it, but I would recommend that you not work for many great institutions like Fox News and the Washington Times or the Wall Street Journal editorial page, and I think I've just run through the whole list of where they don't need you. Just take, you know, college Republicans off your resume and go into the belly of the beast.
Hi, Anne. Carrie Pickett, Young Republican Television. I was just wondering, you really hit the third rail when you did treason, when you said that McCarthy was indeed a hero, not a villain. And what is we as conservatives really spread that word, so come the next generation, people aren't, when they say the word McCarthy, they're not, all of a sudden chills aren't going down people's spines.
Yes, and I'm pleased to say I've discovered from speaking on college campuses what an iconic figure McCarthy has become. I mean, it is sort of the instinct of young people to shock their elders, annoy adults, and, you know, Eminem certainly doesn't do it anymore. He's been on the cover of the New York Times Magazine section. If you really want to annoy your professors, you know, start wearing a Joe McCarthy t-shirt. And I've been given Joe McCarthy t-shirts. I mean, they actually do exist. The manufacturer of my doll, the Talking President's doll, said that he's thinking of doing a Joe McCarthy doll. And the best news is Stan Evans, whom I thank in the acknowledgments to my book, who is the preeminent historian on McCarthy. He's been researching McCarthy using primary documents pretty much nonstop for 5 years and reported on McCarthy when McCarthy was alive. He will have the definitive book coming out on McCarthy later this year, I understand. And as long as you mention it, I would just like to say, well, you know, what McCarthy proves is you can never be too scandalous in talking about liberals. Unless they are calling you outrageous, you are not being outrageous enough. These people are animals. They want to destroy the country. Today they support the Taliban and Al-Qaeda the way they supported Stalin in McCarthy's day. You can never be too outrageous enough in talking about these people because it is all true.
Hi, Ann. My name is Kelsey Huber. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, And I was wondering what advice you would have for a 14-year-old who is trying to get into politics.
Are you a 14-year-old?
Yes, I am.
You are very precocious.
Thank you.
God bless you. You know, I must say, I meet people like you, and I think I would be very nervous right now if I were a liberal. I mean, who do they have coming up in the ranks? We have all these young conservatives and young writers. Who do they have? My advice to you would be to get good grades, apply yourself. The most important advice I have for you is don't go to law school.
I don't intend to.
I would say TV more than written journalism. I think newspapers may be becoming obsolete. People get an awful lot of news from the internet. This isn't sour grapes, it's simply a fact. I've written 3 New York Times bestsellers. No newspaper big enough to be carried on LexisNexis, published in America, will carry my syndicated column. I mean, if this is the way newspapers are going to run their operations, I don't think people are going to rely on them much for information. But television, it's like the voice of God. People will always, always watch TV. And I would also say to conservatives, I wouldn't put too much hope in Fox News. I mean, I love Fox News, but they're not always our friends. They may not always be our friends. We need to blank it out and take over the other networks.
Hi, I'm Ryan Horn from Cornell University.
I know who you are. Hello, Ryan.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again.
I went to Cornell. He's a good conservative from my alma mater.
Right. Well, we have a lot of very right-wing conservatives there now, and a
Being
lot of...
around liberals does that.
It does. And a lot of them, who all loved reading Treason, were also very rattled when they read the National Review's piece on unpatriotic conservatives, specifically criticizing Novak and Buchanan and other more traditional conservatives who were against the war in Iraq. So now I've heard you say that you think a lot of these people are still patriots, but I was wondering if you could maybe articulate the distinction that should be made between conservatives who oppose the war and liberals who are opposed to the war.
Right, that's a great question. I thank you for it. And just so the rest of you know, I see my red light is blinking, so I think this is going to have to be my last question. And it's... Thank you. And it's a good question. I mean, the difference between people who oppose the war with Iraq, who are patriotic, and the ones who oppose the war with Iraq, who are unpatriotic, is that the former love America. I mean, Pat Buchanan and Robert Novak and various others' arguments against the war with Iraq was what was in America's best interests, not, oh no, we can't invade Iraq because the French have said we can't. I assure you, Pat Buchanan and Robert Novak did not think we needed the approval of the United Nations. They're not bellyaching every time John Ashcroft talks to a Muslim. I mean, they really do give the lie to the left's claim that, oh, it's dissent that you're calling patriotic, and it's just because we oppose the war with Iraq. No, I mean, I happen to have supported the war with Iraq, but there are ways to oppose the war with Iraq that are not traitorous. Those just don't happen to be the ways the left has taken. Thank you very much.